Once again, welcome to the Liquidity Narrative Weekly Accountability Review. As you can remember, on Sunday we mapped key liquidity levels for 4 pairs: the NASDAQ, which is the USTEC, British Pound USD, that of Euro USD, and the British Pound JPY, using our weekly daily range framework. Today being the Friday of March, that's the 6th of March, today we review how price delivered into those levels during the week, because Fridays we do our accountability review of what we mapped out, of what our narrative was on Sunday. So we'll be starting first with our first pair, which is the NASDAQ USTEC. So starting with NASDAQ, remember that the first draw on liquidity was mapped at the 24,605.5 levels, while our second draw on liquidity, we are looking at the 24,384.8. These levels you can see on the line were mapped out, even the third level. So price actually moved aggressively early in the week and traded deeply into those liquidity that were mapped out, reaching even this level, which is the 24,3173. This review is being done before the market closes on Friday, because we've achieved our target already. So even before Thursday, these levels has been reached. So this actually means that the both first and the second draw on liquidity on NASDAQ, we are fully delivered. So what lesson can we learn from this particular trade? I will say this, that when price trade from the premium within a weekly dealing range, you know that the discount below often becomes the primary draw. That's one thing to learn from this particular thing. So we'll be moving next to our next pair, which is the British Pound JPY review. Reviewing the British Pound JPY, what we analyzed and what happened. If you can see, British Pound JPY respected the downside narrative very cleanly. Just like we said, we were looking at 3 levels on our British Pound JPY. Those levels on our drawn liquidity were the zone, as you can see, the 1.3433. That's an old low on the daily, and the next one was the 1.3394, which is the weekly lows also. And why the 1.3337, which was the fair value gap on the monthly. As you can see, all 3 levels were being respected as we mapped out on our British Pound JPY, is completing the full liquidity sequencing. So what are the things we can derive from this particular trade on British Pound USD? I will say this, that when liquidity pools are lined across multiple time frames, just like it did on the daily, weekly, and that of the monthly, the probability of delivering increases significantly. Yes, it must not happen like this all the time, but most times, just like we say, that the probability of delivering increases significantly. That was our review on British Pound USD. The next review we did, or we are going to be doing now, is on the Euro USD. We mapped out our Euro USD also on the levels, as you can see. Moving on to our Euro USD. Euro USD also completed the full liquidity sequencing mapped on Sunday. Our drawn liquidity on Euro USD. We're actually looking at these levels, the 1.1742, and there of the 1723, and there of the 1668, and even the fourth one, which is the 1579. So as you can see, all 4 draw on liquidity levels were delivered as price traded down, even to the 1534. So what can be derived from this particular trade on Euro USD? This is a clear example of how external structure defines direction, while your internal structure simple delivers price into liquidity. We have our last pair to review, which is the British Pound JPY. which we did a narrative on also. Our British pound JPY respected the levels we mapped out. Our draw on liquidity on British pound JPY was a 209. That's an order block on the daily. So price actually respected that, delivered into the liquidity targeted at the 209 on this particular level, and moved back even to the reaction level we showed on the 4 hedge, which is another block on the 4 hedge at around 211.21. Price reacted to that and also tapped back. So twice price delivered into our draw on liquidity on British pound JPY. Yes, you can actually say what lesson can we draw from this particular pair? Reaction levels often create the expansion that delivered price towards our external liquidity or our higher time frame liquidity levels. So the purpose, I'll remind us, for my viewers and those that are following us on this particular channel, the purpose of this liquidity narrative, remember, is not for predictions. We don't predict price. It's not for signal trading. The objective is to map our market structures and to define where liquidity is likely to be delivered, and to help people, other traders, those who are learning to use these resources to aid to their trading, and also deliver educational stuff in terms of teaching things about Forex. So this week, the mapped liquidity levels across all the four pairs, which is the NASDAQ, British pound USD, Euro USD, and British pound JPY, we are respected. Remember this, structures continue to guide the narrative. We will map the next liquidity narrative again this Sunday. Structure over speculation, liquidity narrative. Thank you.